Hello everyone, in this video we're going to do an introduction to Spanish grammar and we're going to focus on some terminology, the difference between mood, time frame and tenses. The mood refers to the attitude of the speaker towards the action, and in Spanish we've got three moods: the indicative, the subjunctive and the imperative. You're probably familiar with the indicative mood. We use the indicative to narrate events, to talk about our reality and also some facts. And you could find within the indicative the present, past and future time frames. The subjunctive only has got the present and the past time frame, and we use it to talk about hypothetical situations, wishes, doubt, etc. So for example, if I say, yesterday I ate pizza, that's a fact. So it's a fact that happened in the past. When I talk about the subjunctive, if I say, if I have the opportunity, or if I had the opportunity, I would eat pizza this weekend. Then I'm talking about a hypothetical situation. It's a wish. So if I had the opportunity, or if I were you, it's all something that it's not certain, it's not a fact. Finally, the imperative only have one form, which is the you form of the verb in the singular and the plural form. So you will use it for orders and commands such as stand up, sit down, eat your food. So it could be you do this or you plural do that. Next, we've got time frames. So the time frame refers at which point in your life the action happens. So you could refer very simple, present, past or the future. And then within the time frames, we've got different tenses. So for example, when you talk about the future, you could use, for example, the future simple. So you could say, this weekend, I think that it will rain, or I will. The conditional would be, I would. And then you could also have even the present simple to talk about the future. And that is the difference. So I'm using the present simple, but to refer to something that is happening in the future. So for example, if I use the present simple, and if I say, the train leaves at 8, then that means that I'm talking about something that's happening in the future, but grammatically speaking, this verb is in the present tense. So we could use a couple of analogies to talk about this. You could use the analogy of a lift. So if you think that you are on the ground floor, that's when we're talking about the present tense. If you go one floor down, you move on to the past, that will be your basement. And then if you want to go to your first floor, second floor, then you are referring to your future. You could also talk about this in terms of a time machine, talking about your life. It's like your timeline analogy. So where has the time machine taken me? So if you were to take, you're here, that's me, that's right now. The moment I finish talking, that would become the past straight away. And then these would be my past time frames from the moment I was born until right now. That's the past time frame. And then I could refer to an action that happened, for example, last night I ate pizza, so that's pretty close to the present. Or you could refer, for example, so you would use the preterite tense. So even though you're talking about the past, in here you would be talking about the preterite, one action that happened at one point, specifically in the past. Or you could use, for example, the imperfect tense in Spanish, which refers to like a period of time in the past. So you could say, in the past, when I was young, I used to eat pizza on Fridays. So I used to refers to that idea of an activity that you used to do for a period of time. So that would be, for example, comía, I used to eat, versus comí. But we're going to be talking about all of the tenses in particular in detail. So the key idea is you've got a mood, which is my attitude towards the action. So I could be talking about a fact. I use indicative, the subjunctive for hypothetical situations, the imperative for orders and commands. And then I could be referring to the present, past, or future. And that is sort of like a moving up to the right in the future and moving down to the left to talk about the past. So again, quick recap, a bit more visual. We're going to be talking about 3 moods: indicative, subjunctive, imperative. It would be the umbrella term to include all of the tenses and all of the time frames. So that would be like your grammar. Then that would be the mum, the time frames, past, present, and future. And then the children would be like the variety of tenses that we could have. So you could have a future simple, you could have the conditional, you could have the preterite, you could have the perfect, you could have the pluperfect, you could have anything in there. Now, questioning time. Question number 1. What is the difference between mood, time frame, and tense? You need to answer the question. So the mood refers to the umbrella term, is the attitude of the speaker towards the action. Question number 2. How many moods are there in Spanish, and which are they? There are 3 moods in Spanish. That's the indicative, the subjunctive, and the imperative. Question number 3. Which mood is used for orders and commands? That would be the imperative. Question number 4. Which mood is used for hypothetical situations, wishes, etc.? That's the subjunctive mood. Question number 5. How many time frames are there in Spanish, and which are they? There are 3 time frames in Spanish, and these are the present, the past, and the future. Finally, question number 6. Can you use an analogy to explain what a time frame is? You could use, for example, the analogy of the lift or your life, the line of your life, a timeline. So if we use the analogy of a lift, the present tense would be your ground floor, the past would be your basement, and the future would be going up for a bright future. That would be your first floor. If you use a timeline, if you draw a line, like in maths with numbers are negative and positive, your 0 would be your present tense. Anything, the timeline starts from the moment you were born and the exact time you were born. Anything referring from the present all the way to the past, as soon as I finish my sentence, that becomes the past. And then from that line, looking ahead into a very bright and beautiful and happy future, we talk about the future. So that's our recap.